SOLIDWORKS Simulation 2024 adds additional functionality to virtual connectors and options to speed up your simulation setup. We'll start by looking at the new simulation options that will help every user. In the general simulation options, you can now turn on new selections to automatically save the file after meshing and automatically save the analysis after the analysis completes. This is now in line with the behaviour of SOLIDWORKS Flow Simulation. These options will prevent data loss in the case of unexpected shutdowns or power cuts. Also, under the solvers and results is a new option to pick and choose what is copied, either include or exclude the mesh and results. This will save time and disk space. Now, back to the model. This chain assembly is responsible for transferring power from the rider's arms to the assistive power unit and rear wheel of the Bowhead RX. You can see there are two chains running through the tensioner. Next to the chain is the chain roller guide. The roller guide is responsible for keeping both chains on the transfer cogs, ensuring that the chain doesn't slip off under power. In this simulation, we're going to check the displacement around the roller guide and check the bearings and bolts are fit for purpose. The chain roller guide is mounted to the tensioner mount and houses two sealed bearings that are mounted to the roller guide axle. We can now exclude the physical geometry for the roller bearings from the analysis, since we're replacing these with bearing connectors. One of the bearing connectors has already been created for us, so we'll now create the other connector. We will choose the outer face of the shaft and the inner face of the housing to define the location. We can now choose the new option for distributed coupling. Distributed coupling allows for the faces of the attached bearing to deform, which delivers more realistic representation of the bearing's behaviour. We will now add the lateral and axial stiffness of the bearing to define the new tilt stiffness. In 2024 is the ability to define torsional stiffness as well. In this final dialog box, we can also specify exactly how much the shaft is going to be stabilised. Now we'll add the chain loads to the roller guide. Split lines we use to locate loading at specific locations and directions. First, we'll use a load of 250 newtons to the hand crank chain and 150 to the pedal assist chain. Next, we will quickly run this study. It takes under a minute to mesh and complete. So, let's take a look at some results. You can see from this stress plot that the majority of the higher stresses take place on the bolted shaft, but everything appears below yield and within tolerance. When animating the results, we can see that the chain roller guide is moving as we would expect, and the deflection suggests that even under load it's relatively mild, so the chain roller is doing its job. These new enhancements to SOLIDWORKS Simulation in 2024 add even more flexibility to how you work and even more power to commonly used virtual connectors. Copying studies is now faster than ever before, saving time by removing unnecessary data transfer. And adding even more detail to bearing connectors saves runtime and helps you get even more accurate results than ever and greater insights into your design. In 2024, SOLIDWORKS Plastics uses automation to speed up your analysis. We also have further injection location optimization options. This plastic part supports the rider's calves when powering the Bowhead RX. It's a thin plastic part and it may be beneficial to have multiple gate locations to reduce cycle time and ensure proper mould cavity filling. Now in SOLIDWORKS Plastics 2024, the Injection Location Advisor can automatically suggest multiple gates and their optimal locations. Users can also define the number of gates to use, and the advisor will then place those gates in optimal locations as well. On screen we can see a preview before we run the study of how this may look. Now, let's say you have another part like this cable cover, and you want to test multiple scenarios with different materials and different study types. The new Batch Manager makes it easier than ever to queue up a bunch of studies and run them all with one click. In the Batch Manager, you can now also choose what study type you want to run. First, we select the right study setup. Then, using the new Simulation Type pull-down menu, we select the relevant option. You can choose any combination of fill, pack, warp, or even cool studies. You can even designate the maximum number of CPUs for each study. This allows you to crack on with other tasks and not have your whole CPU used up by a plastic simulation. You could even start a second session of SOLIDWORKS and do some modelling while the studies are running. When you're done setting up the batch manager, simply hit run, or you can even choose a start time. In SOLIDWORKS Plastics 2024, we continue to use more automation tools and logic to help you get deeper insight into the injection moulding process of your plastic parts.